There's a weird pause on the end of that intro music. I think we need to get rid of it. It's just like there's just like a 2 seconds of just silence. We can't have dead air because this show is alive, my friends. This show is alive. Hello, welcome to Make Australian Football Fun Show or Society. I kind of never actually really know what the S stands for. Joe Simon in Melbourne. What do you think the S should stand for? Is it show or society?
It's a good question. I always thought society. Society came to mind, but that's the thing about this show. It can be whatever we want. We want it to be. So you make up your mind.
Is this in fact MAFFS with an extra S because this is the Make Australian Football Fun Society show?
Yeah. No. No.
No.
You throw me on that one.
1 minute in, and you're already.
I didn't think we'd start with the spelling bee. Yeah. No. I think double S, maybe a Z.
Okay. All right. Well, look, we want to stay. I mean, I know MAFFS, the let's say the inferior version has started again back on the wonderful Nine Entertainment Network. And look, I hear the ratings are good. Not as good as us, though. 15 million downloads as per usual. Obviously, it wasn't on last week, so there was a slight dip. I think we went to 14.9 million. But that's all right. That's all right. Teo Pelzeri, in your mansion in Manly. How are you, my friend?
It's a bit warm to be wearing my 4XL tracksuit, but I will still be having opinions on this show. I'm good, Stoll.
Look, Simon, Vin, we love your comments. We love comments coming in. Comments have already come in via YouTube. Simon says, glad to see everyone made it to the right venue, your homes in time. Yes. There was no kick clash, although I don't know, me and you, Joe, we're a little bit similar. Yeah, I've got kind of a navy blue going on. You've got a dark.
I've got the Son Heung-min branded T-shirt on.
Oh wow, that is an aggressive T-shirt you're wearing there.
Hang on? Is that licensed merchandise or is that a bit of a Queen Victoria Market knockoff special?
I will take no further questions at this time about my apparel.
That is far too aggressive to be licensed.
You don't like it?
No, I mean I do like it. Just for the podcast listeners, it's Son Heung-min's face 3-4 times on there, and his name. Just in case you are unclear on who it is. Oh, geez, he's on there about 7 times.
Yeah, he's on there a lot. Hey, here's a question though.
Yeah, go on.
That was a nice little hang on.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If you had to put an A-League player on a T-shirt like this with there's some purple smoke, there's some flames. He's got the Korean flag, I think, behind it as well. But which A-League player would you most like to wear on a dramatic T-shirt like this?
I reckon it's got to be someone who has a lot of different facial expressions. So I would probably go like Bruno Fornaroli, because you could get him angry. You could get him kind of giving a great speech after he won the Australia Cup and saying, fuck off.
You could also do the opposite. You could just have like Joe Lolly smiling 6 times.
Yeah, that's true. The exact same monotone face. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Teo, anyone you'd want to have on a T-shirt?
I would go for the most confounding option, which is the player who, when he is on the pitch, is the most quiet achiever and thus stands out the least, Charles Mombois. Because anyone who sees you would go, why are you wearing a shirt with Charles Mombois' face on it 5 times?
You know what? It's almost like, I reckon that'd almost be like high fashion. Like it'd be so like kind of ironic that hipsters would start wearing it. And then, like you'd end up seeing it on like a website for Gucci for like, I don't know, $400 for a plain T-shirt. Look, a lot of comments are coming in. People are saying, look, let us know who you would like to have on a T-shirt. People are saying it would be Wood's face. Run the meme says Wood's face after that miss. Yeah, I mean, it would be good if you could almost, maybe this is what we should do for merch, is like the iconic moments of the A-League that we all remember on one T-shirt. Whoever's good with Photoshop, run the memes, you're pretty good with it. If you can just kind of put every kind of intense, crazy A-League moment on a T-shirt, and I reckon that could be a big seller. And maybe the APL could license it. Rumors are they might need some cash at the moment. Blinkers Fishes also says he'd put Pat Wood. Wizard of Woy Woy says it would have to be Matt Simon, you dog.
That's great.
Is that what? So where Joe has Son Heung-min's name atop on the top of his shirt, would it be Matt Simon, you dog underneath, or would it be Matt Simon and a dog? Like, what? How are we incorporating the dog part into this T-shirt? That's what I want to know. Guys, really well done last week, I got to say. Josh got into the question, what made Australian football fun for you? I think in record time. It was like a minute in. And I don't know, maybe we should continue that type of thing. So, Joe, without any further ado, what made Australian football fun for you this week?
See, this week was tricky because I feel like the A-League was listening to our pod over the last few weeks now. Like, you have 12 things to choose from.
not closely enough.
That's right. But I'm going to start with my what made Australian football fun for me is I think I've added someone to our favorite MAFFS players to watch, and MAFFS player of the A-League. So we started with Iran Kunda, obviously at the start of the year. We've got Angel Torres in there.
Yeah,
Lockie Brook is really exciting to watch. Every game that I watch him play, I mean, he is in really, really good form at the moment, but he's just the difference maker, and I like watching difference maker. He scored 7 goals. He scored 3 braces, I think, this year. And it's just great to see him in such good form. So, yeah, he's really exciting.
He's a heat check player, though, because we saw it in the Australia Cup when he scored 5. He is basically, once the tap's on, it just becomes a torrent. So it's almost like a message to the group chat, hey, Lockie Brooks scored in the first 20 minutes. That means more is on the way. And that's the sort of draw card player you want, especially for neutrals when, if there's someone who's about to do something amazing and you can get people to tune in just before it happens, that helps perpetuate the idea that this league, anything is around the corner and anything amazing could be about to happen.
And I think one of the most amazing things about him is that he's one of the few Wanderers players who hasn't been sent off. So like that just incredibly right now in Wonderland seems like it's impossible because they've got 4 red cards in the last 3 matches or 2 matches or something. Pretty impressive. Good to see Paul Lederer, the owner, getting amongst it, getting involved. Sometimes owners are too aloof. Paul Lederer has gone the old the Greek First Division where the guy came on with a gun. He didn't quite come onto the field with a gun, but as Run Them Memes did point out, he came on with a Don sausage. How can you believe he made so much money from just Don meat? Like that, when you think of like all the ways that people become billionaires, Tesla and crypto and all this stuff, it's good to see that just cold cuts can also get you $1 billion.
The humble cabana could still do it for you.
Taya, what made Australian football fun for you this week?
All right, this photo really tripped me out. Now, I will give credit. Dan Ullman, aptitude photography, great photographer. But he captured this moment on the Central Coast at the weekend. That is Archie Thompson and Jeff Hopkins. And obviously they are mates. And I went back down memory lane. The 1998-99 NSL season, Jeff Hopkins was Archie Thompson's teammate at the Eastern Pride. Archie was 19 turning 20. Hopkins was the grizzled ex-professional who'd played his entire career in the English Pyramid and also for the Welsh national team, 34 years old. So 15 years difference between the two. Here they are another 25 years later. And look at the smiles and the friendship between the two. Dan Ullman, brilliant photo, capturing that moment. A little bit of NSL nostalgia. I'm not sure a single person within the stadium would have realised that connection as it was happening, given that was prior to an A-League women's match between Melbourne Victory and the Central Coast Mariners. But for nerds like me, that set off all the radars. And you know what? I found that fun this weekend.
That is brilliant. I mean, I love the MAFFS archive. This stretches back all the way to 1998. Maybe we should do an episode of historic MAFFS, right? What made Australian football fun in the week 1997, June 3 to June 10
but
or
the
something?
absurd thing is, the game they were about to watch, the vast majority of the players were not born in 98, 99 when those two were teammates in the NSL. So, Archie's forever young. You think of him as perpetually youthful and energetic. So when you realize that Archie's been retired as long as he has, all of a sudden you realize, man, we're all getting old here. It's crazy to think that Archie even, played that long ago, the 90s. And they were about to watch a game where the vast majority of players were born after the year 2000.
You know what? Archie is one of the original kind of MAFFS players because he was very fun to watch. He was very exciting when he was at Victory. Always scored goals, kind of big game player. He had moments where, the celebration in front of the Melbourne Heart fan. He kind of gave, cheeky interviews and stuff like that. He scored, how many goals was it against? 13 goals against American Samoa. Okay, so actually, this is something that came to me this week. Was I've been watching a lot of Barca women play, and Barca women is a really good if Barca men are the shot of Barca women are the chaser, and it's a really fun thing to watch because basically they just smash every time. I believe their stats at the moment are like 18 games played, 18 wins, 75 goals scored, 3 goals conceded, and that is not me exaggerating. I genuinely think that is their lead position right now. They are unbelievable. They smash every team. but they were up 6-0 after 40 minutes against Sevilla this week. And I really thought to myself, look, we've seen some absolute blowouts over the years. We've seen some 15-0, 16-0s, you kind of your random under 17, tournaments where Tahiti's in there and stuff. 31-0 is unbelievable. Like, just to consistently keep going, like to not take the foot off the pedal. And I really want to know, does anyone have the full footage of this game? Or did anyone actually watch it live? Did anyone actually see the whole thing? Because I just want to know, how did it transpire? Like,
well, but it was a masterclass of editing that all 31 goals are on YouTube, but you can watch them in like 3 minutes. It's like literally just the last touch. You don't even see who got the assist. It's just header at the back post, header at the front post, long shot, top of the box, bang, 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 31 times.
You know what? It's a good example for when you start to work in media. You learn about things like, you got to keep a highlights package.
The fair dealing package. You can watch all 31 goals in 2 minutes and 1 second on YouTube. That's an extraordinary feat of editing.
Yeah, given I used to complain that like 5-goal thrillers were impossible to keep to below a minute 30, the fact that someone on YouTube has managed to get 31 goals into 2 minutes, but I really want to see the full match. Like, I really want to see, like, did the floodgates open at a certain time? Did we just capture momentum? Was there a 7-minute, period where they didn't concede? 31 goals is phenomenal. I know there's a movie out about the American Samoa. So there's a documentary which I watched about 20 minutes of, and then said, "Oh, yeah, it's pretty good. I'll watch this eventually." Never did. And then there's a movie now based on, I think, the documentary. Joe, have you seen either?
I haven't seen either, but what I was going to say about that game was, I think it gets forgotten, but 3 days earlier, Teo, you could probably.
I have it open here in front of me.
3 days earlier, they beat Tonga like 20-0, didn't they?
Yeah, so the Australia wanted to go to this tournament
50 goals in 2 games.
they wanted to go to the tournament and prove a point to FIFA. We can't stay in Oceania anymore, and the point was well and truly proven. And these two games, the reason it really hasn't happened again in international football is FIFA kind of, probably has this up on a poster on a wall somewhere saying, do not repeat at the FIFA offices. So the most absurd thing about this game was that it was 0-0 after 10 minutes. So
they held out.
Keep it tight for the first 10, lads. Don't let anything through. And so when you say, did the floodgates open? Well, yes, because there were goals in the 10th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 17th minutes. So it was 0-0 after 10 minutes and 5-0 after 17 minutes.
I just, at a certain point, like, I just think that I'm just surprised that we kept it up for so much. Like, that is unbelievable. And you know what you got to say? I mean, this week, Graham Arnold came out and said that, the performance of the Asian Cup was a success because we had the biggest win of the tournament because we beat Indonesia 4-0. Does that mean that Frank Farina is the greatest Australian coach of all time because he has the biggest win ever? 31-0. I mean,
I think revisionist history will perhaps look a little bit more kindly on Frank Farina if this is the new standard. I mean, to be fair, Arnie was just simply copying what the Matildas did at the Asian Cup. They went and beat Indonesia 19-0, and I think that still gets referenced as the right thing to do, even though Australia also went out at the quarterfinals. But off the top of your head, guys, do any of you actually know what the biggest win of the A-League men's season is so far in terms of which coach? Do we need, if John Aloisi wins the third game of the year, but it's 6-0, do we need to perhaps tick the season off as a success?
City beat Brisbane 8-1.
8-1.
Yes.
So Aurelio Vidmar, really, I mean, people can say what they want about the weekend just gone and the fact that Melbourne City are now sitting 7th in the league as defending premiers. With a negative goal difference, no less. But they did, they did have the biggest win of the season.
You know what? To win 8-1 and still have a negative goal difference is impressive. So, you know what? Maybe this is how the league now needs to be ranked. I know at the start of the season, there was a big controversy about, is it goal difference? Is it goals for? Maybe it's just biggest win. So that when teams are in the ascendancy, they just go on the absolute charge. And so at this stage, Melbourne City is top of the table with an 8-1 victory. But if anyone can beat any other team by more than 7 goals, they then overtake them. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, it's funny because there's another sport that comes to mind that when their national league was struggling, they went down the path of a bonus point that if you scored a certain number of tries, you got an extra point on the points day. Oh, wait, that was Super Rugby. Forget I said anything.
Hey, AFLX went pretty well. I like the scoring system in that.
Simon, and keep your comments coming in. Simon says at the end of Next Goal Wins, which is the movie about the famous Archie Thompson 13 goals. I don't know if that was the focus of the movie, but anyway, Channel 7 is in the credits, so presumably they have the full game. Oh, one of us got to get a gig at Channel 7 and go through the archives and find the full game. If you're listening and you do have a contact at Channel 7, if you work at Channel 7, please, someone ask if the 31-0 exists somewhere. Make sure it hasn't been taped over. You know, let's see if we can get our hands on it. This we need to bring it back. And you know what I like? We started this with what made Australian football fun this week, and we talked about something that happened in April 2001 for about 15 minutes. So, you know, the MAFFS. You never know where it's going to go. That's the beauty.
I can tell you, Stolt, there is a 19-minute cut of the game. So you've got the equivalent of an Optus Sport mini match almost. Oh, yeah. As far as being able to watch the action with a little bit more build-up. So there's a 2-minute, a 10-minute, and a 19-minute, but we still haven't got the full 90 on YouTube out there somewhere.
All right, we need to sort that out. Hey, look, there was a lot of talk this weekend of was this the most peak A-League weekend over? So what I want to know, I'm going to run through some things for you, and you just tell me fun or not fun. All right, let's start with the kit clash between Wellington, Phoenix, and Western United. Joe, fun or not fun?
Fun for the outsider looking in.
Yeah.
I reckon not fun for those involved. I've been to a wedding recently when I rocked up in the exact same outfit as the groom and the groomsman. And that wasn't fun.
Accident,
maybe fun.
Or were you just really
I really wanted to. Yeah, I was feeling a bit left out. No, it was horrible. It was horrible. I mean, I wanted to change. I couldn't. I didn't have anyone to drive 30 minutes down the road to get my away blazer and come back. But yeah, from an outsider's perspective, that's a lot of fun.
Sorry for me, not fun, mainly because it was Western United that made the mistake. You know, it would be fun if it was one of the Blue Bloods, one of the Havs, not the team that's on the bottom, that has its issues elsewhere, that maybe has a few Fair Work Australia cases in the past with how their kit man of years gone by was treated. Tough gig. Like, you rocked up with the wrong kit, but what about the guy I replaced, you know?
So here's what I think should happen. First of all, I don't know why why can't Wellington just have both kits? You're the home team. Like, also, why is it so hard to bring a second load of kits? Like, is baggage that expensive on Virgin or Qantas or?
If you've got a travelling squad of 11 and 6 on the bench and maybe a couple of others, so 18, that is a heavy amount of uniform. And don't forget that due to the sizes and shapes of players, you can't really bring generic kit. You know, not everyone is going to be Alex Chidiac running around in NBA gear. And there are some players who will probably refuse if you give them a shirt that's too baggy or shorts that are too baggy to go out and play.
Raw fan asks, why does Phoenix play in black at home? It's a fair question. I believe it has something to do with sponsorship, and they have some agreement where they're going to wear like the black kit and the yellow kit an equal amount of times to make most use of the sponsorship. What I think needs to happen in this case is, okay, I'm not sure who made the mistake. It sounds like Western United made the error. In that case, you guys have to play. It's shirts v skins. All right. We've all played it. You know, if the competition is going to be in summer, all right, you can go shirts v skins. That's fine. Let's be the first league ever. I mean, we want to go around the world. We want to be international. We want to make headlines. Shirts v skins. That's what's going to happen. That's always how it happens when you play down at the park. All right. The second option being, even when I go play football, I always have a second shirt in the bag just in case my first one clashes too much. So, Joe, what do you think? Shirts versus skins?
Shirt versus skins is good. Another option could be, I mean, surely there's 11 perfectly sized fans in the crowd wearing the yellow kit. They'd be wearing the home kit. Just throw them on the pitch. The crowd goes shirts. The crowd goes skins and borrow the kits from the crowd. I reckon that would work.
Raw fan also says Wellington would win every game, shirts versus skins. Surely away play skins. Wind was howling. And Lazar 11, this is what I like to, we get the inside word here. Let us know when you get the inside word. Lazar 11 says, my sister was team manager for Glory Women early doors. Her words was always pack both. So, don't know. You know what? Maybe the players can pack their own kit. Like, I mean, how much are they putting in their suitcases?
Can you imagine how much that would equate to in additional wage demands? Now, Wellington Phoenix playing in a strange kit situation. Take you back to 2015. This is more football heritage. Do you remember when
that's a stinking.
The Phoenix, that was their home, I think, third kit or a one-off, sponsored by Huawei. So, great
Huawei,
sponsor.
it's a great...
Shout out to China. But they played in the silver home kit. Melbourne Victory turned up in their away white kit. And trust me, that photo is flattering. It looked way, way worse on TV. And I think the acknowledgement was that when the PDF was sent around pre-game, the grey of that kit just looked a lot darker on the sort of the kit report, but an actual real life photo would have revealed that, out in reality rather than on a PDF, a graphic of the kit. The clash was going to be a lot worse. And that was infamous at the time. It was basically impossible to tell the two teams apart on television other than Victory wearing the shorts. So
just looking at that Victory kit, did they have both KFC and La Ionica, which I believe is also a chicken shop?
Yeah, it's a chicken shop, yeah.
So do they have rival chicken shops on their
No. Leonica probably provides the chickens to KFC. It's just a matter of where in the production line you want to insert yourself. That's
the poultry derby.
Victory has, all you need there is an egg sponsor, and you have every stage of the evolution.
Hey, just quickly on the shirts versus skins. If Wellington will go skins, I don't think there's enough SPF in the world to cover Nick Pennington from the Sun. Could have.
I do remember when who was the Scottish player? He played for the Mariners and he also played for the Wanderers. He was a defender. He was infamously on an episode. Ziggy Gordon. I was just going to say he was infamously.
Don't talk too much trash. I've got to go and commentate him in the NPL this winter. He's playing for Sydney Olympic.
I'll just say it was a very fair skin man, but he was infamously on the episode of the World Game when basically he just joined the Mariners, and it was me and Lucy was telling me about the different cities that he's going to get to visit as being an A-League player, and he mentioned that he was going to visit Adelaide for the first time. He'd never been there before, and then Lucy gave her opinions on Adelaide, and anyway, it was a very interesting time to be in there. But Ziggy Gordon one day, very fair skin man, was playing I think right back in like a 40-degree day at the Wanderers Stadium, and you know how sometimes with the shade there's just sun hitting like one part of the field, and literally it was just hitting like the right wing, and he was roasting out there while everyone else got to play in the shade. Honestly, I can't remember who the coach was at the time. Maybe it was Rhodes, maybe it wasn't. They honestly should have put him on the left. Like that was, I'm a fair skin man myself. That was outrageous treatment of him. The PFA should have got involved. I'd be like, you cannot believe you played him in the sun of all players. That was brutal. But anyway, that's one of my Ziggy Gordon memories. Oh, look, Jess has already criticized my internet early. Stoll, it's like you're in central Queensland with your internet. Spain needs the NBN. No, you know what's happening? I'm just extremely far away from the router because my partner is actually doing some important, actually getting money work for us, and she needs to be close to the internet. So I do apologize if my internet is a bit spotty. Joe, how is my internet so far?
It's not great, I'll be honest with you. Is it Enya B. Enya in Spain? Have I got that right?
Enya B. Enya. Ene B. N.
Close.
Enya B. Enya would have had the little thing on top.
Stop it this way. Xavi's coaching your internet.
Oh, no.
It's patchy.
God. I do apologize. Look, that's the key clash thing. I'm going to say, look, Wellington, they're doing all right. Top of the table. Exciting times for them. Taya, do you reckon it's any kind of... do you think there's any significance in that we got rid of the all grand finals are going to be in Sydney, and it looks like Wellington are going to win the league?
I got to be really careful. I think there's a lot of things that if you're into conspiracies, it's been just a time to feast. And I know Wanderers are the main character at the moment, but it's probably also what has stopped happening as opposed to what has started happening that is kind of noticeable. You know what? Good on the Phoenix. Don't forget, their own expectations pre-season were that they were not going to be good. So I think a lot of people are rightfully crediting Giancarlo Italiano for taking them to where they are in the league. Some of the underlying numbers aren't great. Like, it does feel as though the clock could strike 12 and the carriage will turn back into a pumpkin at any moment. Sorry, New Zealand fans, but it does feel as though just a couple of unlucky breaks, and it could be like getting smashed 3-0 by Newcastle at home. They've shown us what it looks like on a bad day, and apparently 5 points is the furthest clear they've ever been on top of the ladder. So, hey, they've got a great buffer and they can make the most of it for now.
Joe, do you think they're going to go on to win it?
They seem like the most difficult team to beat. Like they seem like they're in every game. And I want to know what you guys think about this. The second goal, which ended up being an own goal, which is really unfortunate because I reckon the play through midfield and the control of the ball, the quick controlled passes, one of the moves of the season for a goal.
You know what? How good is Costa Barbarouses looking? Who, for a while, his nickname was Cost a Lot of Money. I think when he was both at Victory and Sydney FC. So, like an unbelievable kind of, is it Indian summer? Is that the phrase for when you have like a late period in your career?
It is, but I think it's just the value of seniority. Like, Costa has won a lot of trophies, but he's won them in 3 different clubs in 3 different cities. Like, he's won in Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. So, I mean, if you want someone who knows how it happens and like kind of knows a winning culture when he sees it, he's actually like the perfect candidate. So why wouldn't he be one of the reasons they're a success?
Can someone in the comments let us know why it is called Indian summer and let us know if that has any racist connotations? Probably some colonialism, British thing.
I think we'll find out if you join us next week.
But look, I think it's great that the Knicks doing.
I actually believe it is to do with climate change or the climate. And so the use of it with regards to old people is that it's kind of like, imagine a dead cat bounce, only you're still in contention. I think that is kind of where I've used an equally poor metaphor. Now the environmentalists will come for you, Stoll, and the Indians, and the animal rights activists will come for me.
Hey, let's talk about Sydney FC's women's team. Their bus went to the wrong place. Joe, you're in Melbourne. Is it easy to get confused? Is it easy to get lost while you're driving around?
It's a very good question. Look, there's nothing worse. You know what I think might be? Maybe they were planning to get the train and they had to catch the train replacement bus. And the train replacement bus is one of the worst things you can experience in your day. Okay. It's a real day ruiner, that one. Maybe that's the answer.
Teo, you're kind of an expert into women's football. What exactly went down here? Because there were some rumors that apparently the players were telling the bus driver, "Hey, you're going the wrong way," and the bus driver was like, "No, trust me, I got this one."
I mean, it's an amazing story in who gets to pull rank. Is the person who paid for the bus in charge, or is the driver in charge? We got a very underwhelming sequel to Speed, without quite the star power of Keanu Reeves or Sandra Bullock. This bus is following its GPS to the destination, and I will not be deviating from it. So Melissa Barbieri, who knows everyone in football, did tweet out that apparently the 2 former Melbourne City players in the Sydney FC team told the bus driver they were going to the wrong place, and the bus driver held I assume it's a he. How could it not be, right? If you're just not even going to listen, the bus driver held his ground and went to Bundoora. The only saving grace is at least it is somewhat in the right direction, i.e., Bundoora is closer to Casey than the airport, as opposed to driving in a totally opposite direction out to the west, or even, dare I suggest, further north of the airport. But look, A-League Women's in Melbourne, I wrote an article about it, I think 3 years ago, that in the space of 12 seasons, something like 19 or 20 different venues had been used. And in the history of this competition, Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City had never really had a home ground. They've just kind of bounced around to wherever's convenient and wherever they can find somewhere. So it makes total sense that after 15 long years of having no home, you're going to confuse some people. And it appears as though the GPS was included in that confusion.
Lewis F451 says via YouTube, wouldn't have happened if Scott Chipperfield was driving. What a reference.
The late 90s NSL references are just on fire today.
Mate, we love them. But you know what? It is I want to interview this bus driver. We should even get him on the show because I just love the idea. Because say you did. We don't know if it was a man or a woman, but we do know it was a man. We do know it was an old guy.
We know it was a man.
We know it was a man plus 50. He was driving around and he was like, "I'm not going to let these shillers tell me where to go." And they're like, "Look, mate, you're going the wrong way. I don't know what. Look, the GPS. You got, mate. I don't listen to GPS. Google doesn't know what's going on. I've been driving buses for 30 years, mate. Come on." Like you just know that this guy was like, "Oh, mate, this wokeness has gotten out of control. These people they won't even tell you where to. They tell you where to drive now. What's going on?"
Everyone has a smartphone, and I'm mystified as to how the players ended up backing down on this.
Yeah.
Like maybe in a high stress situation where the bus is on one motorway, one freeway. Look who's been living in Sydney for 2 years. When the bus is on one freeway and has to make a decision about going onto either the ring road or onto CityLink or whatever it is. Maybe it was just a split-second decision, and once they had committed to the wrong decision, it was hard to go and undo it. But, hey, at least the game went ahead, and you know what? After all that hard work, it was 0-0, and I just want to say one thing I did find fun this week. Pakua Frimpong did a marvellous job commentating this game, and I feel so sorry for her because 0-0s never live long in the memory, and she did a bloody amazing job commentating a game that no one is going to remember other than the bus going to the wrong venue.
Look, Pakua, I mean, maybe you've got to get the bus driver in co-coms, let's see how that goes. Yeah, look, incredible stuff. Look, let's also talk about Melbourne Victory. Their unbeaten run finally came to an end. Their fans were pretty sick of them drawing every game. And, so they responded with a solid loss, a 1-0 loss. There was some controversy. Did the ball cross the line? They had a penalty late. Philip Curto seemed to stop it on the line. Joe, how did you see this one? Was it over the line or?
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of last week. I think it was over the line.
Really? I don't think it was.
You don't think it was?
Nah.
Teo, do you think it was over the line?
No, not over the line. No,
not over the line. You know what would help?
After Germany
technology,
after Germany, Japan at the World Cup, nothing is over the line. It has to be so much. It has to be Roy Carroll scooping it out from a meter over his line against Tottenham for me to be convinced that it's over the line.
Tay, you were commentating this game. How did you see it? Was it a fun way for Victory?
I mean, it's a worry for Victory that they lost to a team that's playing in the second tier of NPL New South Wales. Look, this.
Good.
I was very busy during this game, and sometimes you get caught up in the moment, and it's a lot of fun. I was at work. This one was work. I think I'm very mindful that Melbourne Victory has a large fan base, a very opinionated fan base, and you have to make sure that you're impartial. And in order to get carried away with a game, particularly one where Victory are losing, I think there was one comment online that said, "Oh, found MacArthur's only fan." So I will screenshot that, and next time someone calls me biased towards Victorians, I'll be able to pull that one out. So actually, it's kind of done me a favor. But no, look. It was an incredible game, and people who watched the game told me that they quite enjoyed it, and people who I listen to that I trust enjoyed it too. Not everyone did. Tell you what, Joey Barton would have a lot of fun if he moved to Australia. A lot
of supporters.
I have done games with new women's voices covering men's football, Teresa Polias and Riley Dobson, in the last 2 weekends. And one thing I pride myself on is creating a great environment for someone to come in and do their first game, whether it was Michael Theo, Josh Kennedy, Archie Thompson, any number of NPL players. I always like creating an environment where someone can come in and be a pundit next to a play-by-play guy for the first time. Without going into too much detail, like some people who probably would have thought, "Oh, Joey Barton, that's so horrible, you can't say that," within the space of a couple of weeks have unironically become Joey Barton. So yeah.
Look, I got to say, I think I was really hoping Victory would go undefeated all season and still not win the league. That's one of my big dreams, is a team to go.
If they'd drawn this, they would be on track to go unbeaten and miss the top 6. It would have been 5 draws in a row.
That's actually my favorite thing would be to draw every game, to go undefeated, to be the Invincibles, but also be out of the top 6.
But
That
what
would
does
have
it
been
say?
incredible.
What does it say that Joe earlier in this podcast said, I think Wellington are the hardest team to beat? And yet Victory had gone 15 unbeaten and only lost for the first time this weekend, like quite literally. And this is after having 2.8 XG and missing a late penalty as well. Like they quite literally were the hardest team to beat in this league, and they weren't even the first team that came to mind.
That's right.
It was a shame Bruno Fornaroli's kind of scissor kick, bicycle kick goal didn't come off. That would have been one of the all-time goals.
That was so smooth. That was so smooth. Hey, where does Borges sit on the MAFFS fun scale?
Ooh, I mean, he's only 20, but that nearly assist he had for Lockie Rose, like
the dribble. Oh my goodness.
It was so, you don't see that often. You normally see that in youth football. It had a very Zlatanish quality of, all right, I've probed the left, I don't like it, I'm going to run back to the top of the area. I don't like this. I'm going to run back down the left, and now I'm going to cut it back, and Lockie Rose missed the tap in. And that would have been one of the best assists really ever in the A-League. But I've got to say, Curto's save later in the game for the Victory passing, the nice incisive triangular passing move.
Yes.
That we were so close to a couple of really beautiful goals in this game. So the actual quality of the football, for all the frustration of Victory not taking their chances, was actually super entertaining.
And, I think Bernardo's little assist kind of turn and through ball for Jake Holman's goal was really good as well. And a really good finish from Jake Holman. So really great. I would say
MacArthur are doing the right thing with a lot of Australia's kids that are in our youth national teams. For all yes, Tommy Smith, the grizzled Kiwi veteran who was like 200 games in League Two, comes off the bench in stoppage time to lock it down. But they are doing the right thing by a lot of Australian kids.
They are starting to become a little bit more fun, MacArthur, this season, which is good because them and Western United were really battling it out for least fun teams in the league, and MacArthur's starting to rise a little bit on the ascension. It's good to see. Hey, let's talk about City 1, Brisbane Roar 5. This has got to be the peak of Ruben Zadkovic's career, no, Joe? I mean, I know it was just one game, but there's not that much to talk about, so we've got to give credit to him. Big Zadkovic with the 5-1 over City.
Yeah, I mean, do you reckon pre-game they thought about that game we were speaking about earlier in the year, the biggest defeat of the season? And usually we owe these guys ones. I've heard that so many times when playing. We've lost to the team earlier in the year. We owe these guys ones. And actually got them back. Like, it was quite unbelievable. Brisbane absolutely
they still lost. They lost 9-6 on aggregate, though.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, the 8-1 was bad, but Brisbane Roar are a basket case of a team. For City to lose 5-1. And actually, you know what? I got to give credit to we got a tweet coming from Jacob. He said Keegan Jelicic scoring from the lowest XG shot in the game and missing from the highest XG shot in the game. I mean, that really does make that, to me. Keegan Jelicic might be on track to be a MAFFS player, because that's what I love to see. I love you to miss the absolute big chances and to score the worldies. That's really what I want from my A-League players. But,
I mean, Brisbane and Perth this weekend, I'm so happy I'm on the game. Saturday night, Ruben goes back west. He brings Keegan Jelicic with him to play against Perth. No, there's no hard feelings, I would think, between Perth and Jelicic, but he still gets to play against his former team. And then perhaps more importantly, Ruben coaching against Perth, but also coaching against Stefan Kolikovsky and Giordano Colli. And I just hope the effects microphones are just perfectly positioned. And I can promise you, if you think I take a minimalist approach sometimes, I will be, if I hear any chat coming from that sideline, I will be getting out of the way, and I think we can all enjoy whatever verbal barbs will be exchanged across the touchline. Like, I cannot remember looking for. I look forward to every A-League game that I'm commentating, right? But just for the pure spice and the potential for what could be, I'm looking forward to this one so much.
Do you reckon, Joe, that the fan the single fan who went down the tunnel and abused the Melbourne City players, do you think he's going to be travelling for this game as well, for the Perth game?
You wouldn't think so, would you? Maybe he's bringing the spare kits just in case. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe if there is a kit clash, the fans provide the kits off their own backs for the players to play. I mean,
exactly.
There might be a size issue there, but I mean, it could be.
Well, there's a good question coming in from from Jess in the comments. What's going on at City? Do they need to move a few players on? What do you guys think? Do you think that they're you and I are both trying to put that comment up at the same time, simultaneously hiding it. But do you think it's time for a bit of a refresh, or is it just they have been up and down? Are they just in a bit of a bad patch at the moment?
I mean, they lost their best player through suspension. Do we know exactly what he said and kind of the whole issue there? No, we don't. We still don't know what Tolga Hassan said. Well, okay. Well, we need to find out what he said. Maybe he said, "Guys, without me, you'd probably lose 5-1 to Brisbane," and he's been proven correct.
I think he made a bad comment about an Indian summer and wasn't allowed back for a little while.
Oh, you know what? Actually, shout out to Ryan Memes, who did point out that an Indian summer
got the answer.
Yeah, an unseasonably warm, dry weather that sometimes occurs in autumn in temperature regions of the Northern Hemisphere. So good to see that the entire world is now an Indian summer. So really enjoying that. Massive drought here in Barcelona. You're no longer allowed to shower after you play football at grounds. So yeah. Tough times, which maybe is why the men's team stinks here. Who knows? Look, good call in terms of do they need to move a few players on. I mean, there's talk that Jay McLaren might be leaving. You know, they haven't agreed a contract as far as I know. I think, you know, once they get back all their top players, Tolga Arslan, Matthew Leckie, I think there's a lot of quality there. Interesting to see how they use Tilio as well and how much he plays. But yeah, maybe it's a bit of a transition year after kind of a big successful period for City. But yeah, I don't know. I do think this game was a little bit of an outlier. They're not having the greatest season, but I think they'll be okay. Teo, what do you reckon?
It really depends on who's coaching them next season. Is the plan to go back to Patrick Kisnorbo? I don't think like a Marin Jakalic is the sort of player that Patrick Kisnorbo would have signed to begin with. He tends to like more of your workhorse, gritty, grinding types rather than flair players. And I think they are kind of caught. I mean, we know that, yes, Melbourne City want to play possession heavy, you know, suffocate the opposition, ball dominant style. But the players they have employed to do it, I think they are stuck between philosophies on that at the moment. So it really depends who's the coach. Look, is Aurelio Vidmar going to keep the job? He does have the biggest win of the season. So that is definitely in his favour.
The guy can't be sacked.
But with Patrick Kisnorbo currently on the market available, I think that looms large. If Patrick Kisnorbo goes and gets another job between now and the end of the A-League season, then I think they have a really tough decision on what comes next because they haven't always got it right. I mean, what was it, Warren Joyce? You know, those were tough times. They weren't a great hang, Melbourne City, during the Joyce years. Momberts may have set a lot of foundations for Kisnorbo, but that team also, you know, wasn't the greatest. And winning isn't evidence that they can get fans through the gates. They need more than just winning. They need to win in a certain way that gets everyone talking about them and excited about them. And at the moment, they're sitting 7th, so they're not doing any of that, which is a real shame because just when they got to the Champions League, just when we thought we're about to have a flagship team go back into Asia and sort of fly the flag for club football in Australia, it's all fallen apart at the seams, which is sad. You know, we spent a lot of time waiting for Melbourne City to reach this point, and then they haven't really got to enjoy a great deal of time, you know, breaking new ground. Yes, they won a lot of trophies and spent a lot of time as the best team, but they weren't a groundbreaking team in the Champions League, and that was the most frustrating thing.
You know, I think that's exactly right. I think also that's interesting about City this year is City have been dominant in the years where, let's be honest, we've had a lot of like bad teams in the A-League. I think this year is one of the best seasons ever in terms of the quality of teams that we have. You know, really, I only look at kind of like, you know, we talked about Perth being the most entertaining team of the season, and they've really, I think, like helped turn their season around. They had the 3-3 game on the weekend against Adelaide United. There's a lot going on there, but they're second bottom, and they're still, I think, a decent team. I think if you go kind of through the 12 teams, really only Western United is the only team that you'd say are kind of the easy beats of the league, and even they still have some quality. I think they're massively kind of being affected by not having a stadium, not knowing what their future is, and all those issues there. I think there is something there.
The good thing is there's a big correlation between ladder position and points dropped from winning positions. I think Perth and Newcastle are the two worst offenders. Newcastle, again, stoppage time equaliser causes them to drop 2 points at the weekend. But that suggests that even the teams lower on the table are perfectly capable of winning because they have been in winning positions so frequently through the course of the season.
Yeah, and look, if you look at it, it's like Mariners are second on 28 points, and the Jets are 10th on 18 points. There's only 10 points separating 8 teams in the middle of the league. I think it's one of those things where pretty much more or less anyone can beat anyone. It's a really hard league to predict. I think that makes it a lot of fun, actually. So I do think that kind of City and Sydney FC both had a lot of their period of success when there was only kind of 3 or 4 decent teams in the league, and there was some pretty guaranteed 3 points that they could do. Now I think it's really hard for anyone, even like the Phoenix, to guarantee 3 points despite being top of the league. So I think that's having a bit of an effect. But anyway, we'll see. Also to discuss, speaking of Sydney FC, they had a good win over the Mariners in Gosford. But, that wasn't exactly what drew the headlines, even though, that's just kind of what Ufuk Talay will want to focus on. Sydney FC fans in the away, and they had some kind of theme. It was like some kind of pool party beach vibe theme. I really liked that. They were in Hawaiian shirts. I think there should be more theme away days. There was also, I believe, if you check the footage, a blow up sexto in the. You know what we've had? I mean, famously in the Sunderland-Liverpool game, we had a balloon flown, a kind of beach ball thrown onto the pitch, which was involved in a goal. Joe, would you like to see something similar happen with the blow-up sextile?
I thought you were going to ask me if I wanted to see it. Would I like to see something similar?
Yes, it's right here, and let's introduce the doll right now as our 4th member of the MAFFS crew.
Look, what was the biggest blunder for you of the weekend? The sextile in the crowd, or the
blunder?
The misplace in the crowd, or Wood's miss on the field? I mean,
Wood, sextiles. There's got to be be a joke in there somewhere. Look, I think blow up sextile. I think it's quite funny. Let's be honest, that it was in there. I don't know if it's the family friendly environment that the A League is hoping for. But
what's the crime, really?
Hey, I don't judge anyone. I believe everyone should be welcome at the A League, whether they have a sextile or not. And as long as the blow-up sextile was having a great time, then I hope they were celebrating the victory. Look, Woods miss, that is rough because it's hard for the A League to go viral around the world, but that miss certainly did. And I did feel sorry for him because it was just like I could just see his body positioning. I could see how he did miss it. It was a rough one, but you know what? At least Patrick Wood is he's starting games. Hopefully, it doesn't kill his confidence too much. But good win for Sydney FC. 3-1. I think Sydney FC are starting to their pressing game starting to pay off, and I think they're going to start to rise up the table.
We do move on from these things though remarkably quickly, because if I was to ask you what was the most recent criminal miss of a Patrick Wood level that went viral around the world from the A-League, would you actually be able to name the team and the player involved off the top of your head? Because I'm about to share the image of the chat, and it should bring back the memory for you. But can either of you remember the last criminal miss? What a Freudian slip! The last criminal miss that we saw in the A-League in front of goal.
Oh, Joe, can you help me out here? I'm not sure.
No, but that's my point. They do not live as long in the memory as you might think. It was this one. It was Simon Cox for the Western Sydney Wanderers against Melbourne City. Basically, look where the ball is. Oh, you can't. If we pull down the obstruction there.
Here we go. But surely we've had a miss worse than that since then. Let us know in the comments. I'm sure we've had a worse miss.
He was literally running into an open goal, and yes, credit to Curtis Good for getting back and catching him in possession. But had he even just moved it slightly faster than a gentle jog, he would have run up to the ball and knocked it into an empty net.
Yeah, it's true. Joe, your thoughts on Sydney FC and the Mariners? Angel Torres scored again.
Well, Torres' finish is what I think Wood was trying to go for, but Wood was a lot closer with a much more of an empty net. But yeah, Angel Torres, he's just inevitable. And I think if Wood's goal goes in, there's a good chance that Central Coast come back and at least draw that game, because they were pressing hard there. Sydney did look a lot better though. But yeah, sorry, we spoke about the miss goal, but we didn't speak about Vukovic at all. How quickly do we forget when the goal doesn't go in about his mistake leading up to it? Because that could have been really, really costly.
Yeah, it's a good point. Teo, your thoughts on the Sydney FC Mariners match?
Oh, look, great win for Sydney, priceless points, and I really would have preferred the Mariners to win this one. More so from the point of view that I feel as though them challenging for the Premier's plate is one of the better back half of the season narratives. And yes, I think Sydney will make the top 6 and be contending to win the grand final regardless of where they finish in the 6. But I really like this Mariners run, especially given that how many weeks until the Korean transfer deadline? Is it 3 weeks we're down to now, or 2 weeks that we're down to? We only have so much Angel Torres left. I need to bank as many points as possible.
All right, look, quickly before we move on from the A-League, let's just quickly touch on 2 more things that kind of happened this weekend. One was the Adelaide 3, Perth 3. We said last week, we're always ahead of the game. Well, you come to us, we give you the hot takes early, then people start repeating it. Perth Glory, funnest team in the league, 3-3 draw, craziness going on. You know, Teo, you're commentating a lot of Perth games. Does this cement Perth as not only the funnest team in the league, but one of the funnest teams that the A-League has ever seen?
It's interesting because before this game, when I saw the Adelaide lineup and Carl Viet did kind of spin the magnets and decide to, mix it up and punish a few players for poor performance, I thought, gee, that Adelaide team looks weak. For the first time, in a while, Perth are paper favourites to win this game. And even when they were 2-0 down, I thought, no, this is Perth. This is Stadger's Perth. And when they came back to lead 3-2, it was the least surprising thing. They have got to such a point where their games are so chaotic, the biggest surprise would have been if it petered out to a 2-0 defeat. I thought that Max Burford handled the post-match interview very well with Stadge because to get a good back and forth conversation after conceding yet another stoppage time equalizer. Like it's almost like Perth. It's almost like Perth are becoming used to it, and thus it is not the gut punch that you would imagine it would be to concede in the 97th minute after having come from 2-0 down. For most teams, this would be the most heartbreaking result of the season. For Perth, it was just round 16.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think embrace the chaos. Like, let's embrace the fact that we can see last minute equalizers. Joe, don't you think? Don't you think it's fun when you're part of that?
Conceding goals? I'm not so sure. For us, certainly, I hope they keep it up. Hey, I want to ask you guys about David Williams. He's becoming a real impact off the bench, almost to his own detriment, because I think they're going to see that as an absolute weapon off the bench that he is, which might mean we've got him to come on. Let's keep him on the bench. The players that come to mind, Scott McTominay scored for Manchester United. Olivier Giroud, I think, is one of the all-time impactful bench players, the weapons to come off. Solskjaer as well on an occasion, but on a repeat basis, like you are a bench player. Do you think David Williams is going to start any game anytime soon, or is he going to be classified as that super sub?
Mate, I reckon if you get this paid the same for half an hour of work, mate, great. Like enjoy the dollar per minute ratio going up. I think that's incredible. Teo, what do you reckon? Williams the super sub?
Oh, it's working. It's working so well. Why would you touch it? And to be fair, I think Perth's starters are actually doing a pretty good job too. And it's not something you would want to interrupt. I think Williams is smart and his, yes, he still has raw pace, but his ability to just score goals and change games. He had the assist for the 3-2 win for Perth against MacArthur. I don't think you mess with this combination. Perth are agonizingly close to the tipping point where they go on a winning streak and get right back into the top 6. And they are coming from a long way back. But I think until it's not working or until injuries force your hand, I don't think you mess with it. I think you leave him as an impact player off the bench.
Hey, speaking of big changes, let's talk about AFCON, because congratulations to the Ivory Coast. They won at home the African Nations Cup, or the African Cup of Nations, however you like to, Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, however you like to do it. But the best thing, the most amazing thing is that they sacked their coach during the group stage, setting one of the all-time great precedents that you can sack your coach while you're struggling in the group stage and go on to win it. Joe, should we have done it at the Asian Cup?
Hey, I called for it. I don't know if you guys remember. I thought the emotional value of even just Arnie saying, I'm going to quit. I'm going to leave. That would have brought a spark to the squad.
You did say that. That
did.
very, very good callback. Well done.
Yeah.
Do you think Ivory Coast was listening and they go, geez, that Aussie guy's onto something?
Yeah,
Maybe we
potentially.
need to do it here. I mean, we would have missed out on maybe a 4-0 win over Indonesia, which was the real highlight of the tournament, sucked in Qatar. But we, on the other hand, we may have won. So I don't know. I think it's amazing. We always know the famous Craig Foster calling for Pim Verbeek to be sacked at halftime of the Australia-Germany game. That's probably, that he's like a little bit more of an extremist in the Ivory Coast, but 1 out of 1, it's 100% success rate. We cannot.
And the great irony is, Equatorial Guinea had the equal biggest win of the tournament, beating Ivory Coast 4-0 in the group stage. So, look, I hate to rain on everyone's parade, but this is just the pure function of the garbage of 24-team tournaments. It's either it's either 16 or it's 32. And if Portugal winning Euro 2016 wasn't enough to convince you, if that wasn't enough to convince you, then Ivory Coast finishing third in their group with 3 points and a -3 goal difference, going on to win the AFCON after a mid-tournament adjustment. Yes, it's a great story, but it should be the last chapter of this type of story. This should be it. Either, I realize Africa's only got 50-something nations, so qualifying for the AFCON may be a little bit pointless if 32 out of 50 qualify. Same for the Euros. Europe's even, I think, has fewer nations. So let's just keep breaking up the old Yugoslavia, and everyone who wants to have their own FA. Catalonia can become a national team, and maybe we can get UEFA up to 60 or 70 teams, so we can justify having a 32-team Euro. But that is it. I never want to see the 24-team tournament again. It absolutely stinks, and this should be the death knell for it ever being used again.
I agree with you. Joseph asked the good question. The more important question is, can we do it at the Olympics with Tony G? Yep. You know what? Definitely, if we're struggling early doors, we're going to be calling for it.
But here's the thing. What's worse than a 24-team tournament? A 12-team tournament where 2 out of the 3 third-place teams go through. The only way the Matildas won't get out of their group at the Olympics is quite literally if they don't turn up. Yes, it might mean a tougher quarterfinal, but to finish fourth in your group at the Olympics is actually going to have to involve a forfeit. I actually cannot envisage a path where the Matildas are not one of the 2 best third-place teams, regardless of who ends up in their group.
Lewis makes the point that a 48-team World Cup is just a double 24-team tournament, which is what we can look for in 2026. As Geraldo points out, World Cup 2026 could be an absolute crapshoot, but basically the same format, but double in size with an extra knockout round. It's a good point, and who knew that MAFFS would actually bring some maths to the show? But
I like it.
What I think is really important now is you need to. So Ivory Coast had the benefit of the tournament was in their host country. So the replacement coach was already there. So here's what you need to do. If you are a coach who is thinking about taking over a team mid-tournament, you've got to go over with a broadcaster, basically. So I believe SBS is commentating in 2026. Is hosting in 2026. So you've got to fly over, be part of their broadcast team. I don't know if you guys follow the NBA, but Doc Rivers was commentating on ESPN, commentating on Milwaukee Bucks game, and is now coaching the Milwaukee Bucks. An incredible quick transition. That's what you've got to do. So, if you're Kevin Muscat, if you're Tony Popovich, if you're, I don't know who kind of the next Socceroo inline coach is, John Aloisi, whoever it is, just get yourself over to the USA, Mexico, get around the team, just be there so you can swoop in very last minute, because I'm telling you, this is the new thing now. This is going to be every time a team's struggling first 2 games, this is what the fans are going to be calling for.
Speaking of death knells, should this be the death knell of limited squads? What if you're willing to bring over 50 and put them up in a hotel and have them train and feed them and all the rest? Why do we have arbitrary squad sizes for major tournaments? When you used to travel to an Olympics or a World Cup by boat, I could understand, you can only name so many, and they go and spend 6 weeks on a boat from Europe to South America to play in the 1950 World Cup. I get it. In this day and age, why can't you just have, if you are eligible to play for that country, you can be drafted in. Hey, the entire country should be able to call up who they want. Yes, there's marketing and promotion and what have you. Maybe you have a protected list. You have a protected list of 11 or 15 that have to go, but then the remaining 10 can just be interchangeable and you can put in whoever you want. Would that not be more fun, especially given, so many major tournaments have been defined by injuries to players in an arbitrary squad size?
Yeah, look, Joseph is making the point that Turin isn't far from Paris for a certain Aussie manager. So Channel 9 has the rights, Channel 9 and Stan has the rights for the Olympics. So maybe we just need to get Joe Montemurro on the coverage of Channel 9 and the Olympics. We'll see. Maybe it's a possibility, but just there are movements happening. There is potential there. Look, I also wanted to talk quickly about Asian Cup final, Qatar 3, Jordan 1. The magic trick goal celebration or Tim Cahill. What is the real secret behind Qatar's success, Joe?
Oh no, Teo's waving his hand. I'm going to handball this over straight to you.
No, I was imitating the card trick.
Oh, the trick. The magic trick was one of the most amazing. So, did anyone see that coming? Like, why does the man have cards in his sock in the first place?
I thought he was honestly just a big Panini guy, and he'd pulled out his sticker.
Yeah, that is what I thought it was too. And you know what? I mean, the confidence that you have to celebrate your first goal when there's still like 70 minutes of the game. Absolutely. And you're doing card tricks. How far do you think the card tricks is going to go? Is this why the blue card has been brought in? Is there going to be pick a card, any card, red, yellow, blue? Let's see you can get. Okay, is this your card? And how long will someone saw in half one of their teammates? Where does this magic end?
Well, it was Qatar in the final, not Saudi. So let's wait for the 2032 World Cup. Can I just say, this time last week on MAFFS, I mentioned that the Qatar versus Uzbekistan penalty shootout was one of the worst penalty shootouts from a technical point of view you would ever see. And a lot of the penalty takers were bricking it, and Qatar was super lucky to get through. Whatever they did for the semi-finals and the final, two of the more entertaining games you'll see. Yes, anyone who didn't watch will probably see that Qatar won thanks to 3 penalties. And you're welcome to be as cynical about it as you like. I would say 2 of the 3 were probably there, and one of them was a little bit generous. But their semi-final was, for whatever reason, bad sleep patterns, my own, personal disintegration. I was up watching these semi-finals. Jordan-Korea was awesome, and Qatar-Iran was one of the best football games you'll see. So they, a bit like the Ivory Coast, they were slow starters that came good, and for them to be standing on the dais back-to-back makes absolutely no sense. And I actually like that their reputation has been so battered, all the sports washing and all that effort, and yet people are still cynical about the way that they've won this tournament. So, I guess to use a bit of an old MAFFSism, they made their bed and now they are lying in it. Enjoy your stand rule trophy.
You know what? I mean, it was funny when people looked at like Qatar have won, because we all saw how bad Qatar was at the World Cup. And then to see them, I guess for the casual observer, to see them win a second Asian Cup, this time on home soil, and to get 3 penalties in the final did raise the eyebrows, I think. But if you do look at penalties, I mean, 2 of them are absolute stone walls. Yeah. One could go either way, but it's not really that controversial. So, it wasn't that bad. But I think it was the magic trick. I mean, the thing is, we talk about, people think that we're just having fun when we talk about fun. No, this is serious football analysis, right? The more fun in your team, the more chance you have of winning. That's why if a player feels comfortable enough to get the cards out for a magic trick, which, by the way, Joseph points out, this was my suggestion for Magic Round. Yeah, it's right. Joseph is one of the great ideas men of Australian football. But if a player feels that comfortable, how confident is the team? One of the reasons I feel like we went out against Korea was there was a lack of magic in our team. There was a lack of people having fun, enjoying the time. We looked too stressed, all right? And you know what? I've got to say, look, I love him or don't love him, it just doesn't bring the fun vibes. We need a more fun team there. And we can see that's why, Qatar has been successful. They've also been successful, and we need to claim credit for this. Tim Cahill. Tim Cahill is the technical director of the Qatari Football Administration or something. Look, I don't know how long he's been there. I don't know exactly what he's doing on a day-to-day basis. But, and we've talked about this on MAFFS before, you've got to claim credit despite how much effect you actually had on the thing. So I want to see a big post on LinkedIn from Tim Cahill this week saying, an honor for us, for the whole team. I devised the strategy early. Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. It was a real team effort. I was the one who showed the player to do the magic card trick. I taught him how to do that. I mean, Tim Cahill, of course, used to punch the corner flag. Maybe it was a magic trick when the ball boy who took the flag away, the missing corner flag, so he couldn't punch. That was what an insane moment. But look, congratulations to Tim Cahill, and hopefully he comes back and helps Australia at one point.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Tim Cahill will be our president of FIFA at some point.
Yeah,
and regardless of how you feel about the path he takes to get there and the public utterances and the issues he has to dodge, if you can hold your nose and cover your ears, I think it will ultimately be a net benefit to have an Australian and a former Socceroo as the president of FIFA. And I genuinely do think Tim Cahill will get there at some point in his life. He will be the president of FIFA.
Joe, you wanted to quickly talk about the Super Bowl before we go.
I did. It was, usually I'm used to MacArthur Mondays on a day like today, but it was the Super Bowl. And I wanted to point out we've stolen ideas, or we've lent on, say, the Australian Open a couple of weeks ago to see what we can use from other competitions in the A-League to make it a bit more fun. And I noticed something today in the Super Bowl. It was actually on Nickelodeon. I actually didn't know this, but they were broadcasting as well. When that is the Australian equivalent 10 bold or 10 peach, and we have like Toadie on the broadcast. But Dora the Explorer was explaining the rules for children or myself who don't really know the rules. Here's a little bit of Dora.
Holding is the illegal grabbing of a player who is not in possession of the football in order to gain an advantage.
Very cute.
Wow.
Thanks, Dora. Just tell me when Usher's on and I'll come back then. But I wanted to know, and we spoke about it a little bit pre-show today, if this was in the A-League, who would we have explaining the rules to our loyal viewers? Now, we had some great responses. There were some really good ones here. The first one I thought of that came to mind was George Columbaris. There he is here at a victory game, yelling at someone in the crowd. I imagine his head popping up, explaining to us what the offside rule is. Teo, you came up with, is it the Johnson and Friends, this weird, creepy looking piano accordion?
Australia has a fascination with Scottish pundits, and I think that McDuff would be the perfect the perfect Scottish pundit. Now, look, for those of you that weren't 90s kids, you may not be familiar with Johnson and Friends, and you might think, why is there a smiling concertina? But children's television icon, Macduff with Scottish background, would play well with the Australian audience. And that's my answer. I think if Macduff popped up and explained why VAR is taking 3 minutes to determine if someone was passive offside in front of the keeper, people might have a slightly better understanding of the rule.
Just imagine if you're a kid, you wake up in the middle of the night and that thing, Macduff, is there staring at you. I would have a heart attack. Stoll, did you have anyone that you thought would be a good representation of our game?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys ever watched Feral's TV back in the day, which was like a kind of Australian, like scum version of like the Muppets kind of thing. Like it was basically like if the Muppets all had like meth issues. They were just all very scruffy, like insane characters. There was like this old toad, I think, who like always had gum on his tongue, and he was like a TV producer or something, and he was like, "Oh, guys, that's not good enough." I think they need to be involved. I mean, we are going very 90s. So I think Simon points out in the comments, should we get Bluey? So we get Bluey commentating the A-League then. I mean, let me tell you something. That would boost the ratings, because when I go here on Netflix, one of the most watched things in Spain on Netflix is Bluey. Huge around the world. I think it might be one of the most watched shows of all time. Run the Memes points out, I'm not going to lie, thought Stoll was the guy from Cheese TV. Oh, I don't even remember who you're referring to. I don't really remember any of the presenters. I
remember Cheese TV. Like, it was morning cartoon sort of fare. Yeah. Right. Run the Memes or something.
Well, please let us know in the comments who you think. The one that I settled on that I thought would represent the game the most was Jamae from Summer Heights High.
Oh,
I mean, imagine her.
That is dangerously close to home. Like, I could actually see. I mean, Chris Lilly has been cancelled and he's on the comeback trail. He's looking for a new job in the media and entertainment. Can you imagine if Jamae King? We've already got Alex King, so let's bring in Jamae King to explain us, the offside rule.
Absolutely. Imagine her calling Angel Torres' goal. That's so quiche. That would just be peak Australian football.
Hey, you know what we should do? We should introduce someone right now to get them to explain everything that's happened in the MAFFS episode today to the audience, for the uninitiated. So Josh Parrish coming to us live. If you think around where you are, Josh, I don't know how you're able to commentate in that kind of thing.
It is loud, it is bustling. It is probably a 2,500 crowd here at the Veneto Club. Let me see if I can switch my camera around and show you actually what's happening. It is 1-1 here at AFCON. Oh dear. There we go.
Okay.
And this is Nick Tabano here doing the halftime announcements in the box.
All right.
And it is a packed house here. It's been a pretty good game so far, 1-1. Bulleen took the lead early after turnover and a quick counter attack, and then Preston equalising from a penalty that I'm told is controversial, but I didn't think it was too controversial, to be honest. But yeah, fit to go for a blockbuster second half, and it's great to see so many people out on a Monday night supporting second division Victorian football.
Mate, that makes Australian football fun. But quickly, Josh, that penalty, how would Dora the Explorer go about explaining it?
I'm not going to do a Dora the Explorer impersonation.
No swiping.
But
no swiping.
I think it was about getting to the ball first or second. And if you're going to charge in like a madman and drop the shoulder, if you don't get to the ball first, then yeah, you're going to have a problem there.
Josh, just quickly, you've got hundreds of people on the stream. So for the 15 million that are currently watching that, after we wrap here, where can they go and watch you in the second half?
Well, you can catch us on the Preston Lions Facebook page, and Nick and Lockie are doing their rival stream over on the Bulleen page. I've been locked out of the box for the second year in a row. Here they are. From real estate.
Oh no, the cyberbully! Cyberbully.
Look, can I just say, just before you go, the reviews are in, and Joseph says, I've seen a lot of bootleg stuff on Twitter. He's taking the cake, so leave it there, mate. It's an absolute pleasure. I hope you have a great second half.
Look, for those listening on the podcast, that was Josh Parrish from the Veneto Club and not prison, although it did sound a lot like that.
God, that was, we said my internet was bad, but God, that was horrific.
When we drew that up in pre-game, it was going to go a lot smoother than what we got, I think.
Look, Simon says, wow, that was a thing that happened. Yeah, let us know your reviews. Hey, I don't know if this is a good time, but if you could like, comment, subscribe, post us on Reddit, rate us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Tag Joey Button. Tag in Joey Button.
Tag Joey Button. Oh, Joey Button must love this show. 3 white blokes talking about football. Yeah, this is how it's meant to be. Come on, man. Yeah. Maybe there's a bus we can drive into the wrong ground somewhere. Look, we are going to wrap it up, but yeah, if you could help support this pod, we'd greatly appreciate it. Tune in next week, obviously, as well. Feel free to take any of this podcast and post it on social media out of context.
Maybe not that bit with Josh Parrish. I don't think that was quite audible.
Or maybe not the part where I said, "Oh, how good 3 white blokes talking about football." That was ironic. Anyway, look, any other business before we wrap this thing up?
Enjoy. You go first, Joe.
Yeah, no, just quickly. The Veneto Club. That's the second week in a row we've spruced up your amazing venue. They've got a really good market fish at the moment. So if they want to get in touch and possibly be the sponsor of the MAFFS pod, yeah. Please get in touch.
Valentine's Day specials.
Absolutely.
I'm going to unironically parrot what Stephen Conroy, chair of the APL, said. Because I am on 2 games this weekend. Friday night, Melbourne Victory versus Western Sydney Wanderers in the women. Huge 6-pointer on the table as well. And then Saturday night, the game that everyone's been waiting for, Ruben's return. It's tense, it's quiet at HBF Park. Ruben! So Perth Glory versus Brisbane Roar Saturday night, the nightcap. Make sure you watch 1 Paramount Plus.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Have a good week.